You are listening to Ace Comicals. I'm Greg, and today I'm joined by my co-host Leon. Let's go! Hey, and welcome to Ace Comicals, episode number 62. And today it is just me and Leon.
Hey man,
how you doing? And this is like the return to form for us, isn't it? Because we had the Marvel movie spectacular special for Endgame.
That we're still recording in some timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Nearly 4 hours of podcast there for you to wade through. If you've seen the movie, if not, then you're going to stop an hour in. But yeah, there we go. So we're back with a couple of comics, and we've just chosen a couple of things from... Well, I think Leon's got a couple of bits from Free Comic Book Day to talk about, and I've chosen a couple of things from the past couple of weeks. We'll come to that in a moment, but first of all, some things to wrap up that, like, news-wise that I've seen, just sort of like floating around, adverts in comics, etc. Even had the guy at my LCS talking to me about this. My friend Matt at Forbidden Planet, works at Forbidden Planet. He was telling me, like showing me the catalogue about these new X-Men events that are coming up. And this is going to be a relaunch of X-Men. So X-Men's kind of like starting over, getting a fresh slate. And that'll be this summer. And I'm quite looking forward to it, actually. I'm looking forward to being able to like get into and start following X-Men again and just like have that back, you know?
So is it like complete reboot? Is this year one? Or is it going to be sort of following on from the Grand Designs recap things we've had recently?
Well, I don't think it follows on from Grand Designs. That Grand Designs is Grand Designs. That's its own thing. That's back this month as well, by the way. But this is... I don't think it's so much a reboot. I mean, a lot of like places that... Like on the official Marvel site, they talk about it in terms of a seminal moment or another milestone. Like in the adverts as well, they talk about it as a milestone in X-Men history. So it's like a jumping on point, and it's like a milestone in the same way... like previous things like Age of Apocalypse and such, you know, like where it's kind of like an event, but it's a jumping on point for people, and it's like a milestone in X-Men history, and people can get involved from that point forward and not have to worry about everything else, even though all of that has happened. It's history, if you get me. Yeah. So that kind of thing where it's a relaunch, but it's not a complete reboot, back to square one type thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Sort of a soft reboot.
Yeah, if you want to call it that. And we've got these two comics, House of X and Powers of X, which are going to be the beginning of that. So that's where you'll start, and then you'll be able to carry on reading X-Men from there onwards. And this is July. This begins in July. I'm just looking at the what the official Marvel site has to say about it now. And their sort of announcement for it. And there's some nice artwork to go with it. There's a nice kind of like group shot of a lot of iconic X-Men characters. You've got Iceman, Wolverine, Bishop, Storm. Storm's back in this image. Storm is back in her kind of like 80s extinction-y get-up, you know, with like the mohawk and the leather jacket, kind of like punk Storm, yeah? She's got that going on. Yeah, Mr. Sinister's there. Cyclops, Cable, Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix. So they seem to have taken everyone back to like a previous, like everyone's got like a more traditional look as far as X-Men costumes go. As in they've gone back to like previous iconic looks that the characters have had by the looks of things, like Cyclops is in his blue and yellow with the, you know, like Wolverine's in the brown and yellow.
Does Cyclops have the little head thing covering his hair?
No, he doesn't.
Okay, so they've gone middle ground.
yeah, he's got the visor, but not any of the rest of it. Yeah, it's just it looks really cool. It looks like something that, I mean, there's the blackbirds in the background on this shot as well. So yeah, but I'm excited for this anyway, as in it's something that I'm looking forward to, and I cannot wait to check out. So yeah, that'd be a big one for me. I don't know where you stand on that, Leon. Whether you can be doing with any of this, because I know your opinions on big Marvel events and.
Well, the thing is, if the collected runs, the House of X and all that, are good, then I'll read a trade and get into it. But I'm not doing the monthly thing.
You're not going to do a Greg.
Well, that's for me. Like, the aforementioned Grand Designs, that's been really nice for me.
Yeah,
like these nice maxi collections where you can just read through and get all this lore. It does obviously zoom past a lot of the stuff, but I like my stuff collected. Like when I read Days of Future Past or like Dark Phoenix Saga, I read those as collections, and it's just it's my preferred way to read X-Men.
You see, so did I, but I mean, obviously, neither of us are going to read them as single issues. We're not old enough. But...
I could have collected them like later in life.
Yeah, and spent vast amounts of money, but no, I read those collected, and I think, I mean, yeah, I like having collected editions. I like having hardbacks and stuff like that. But my philosophy is also, well, if it's on the shelves now, and you know, I want to be current and I want to keep up with it, and I like having single issues. That's just me. It's what I've been doing. I mean, it's what I'm doing with War of the Realms. And I think I was talking to you just before we started recording about War of the Realms as well, actually, and how I'm kind of regretting getting myself into that a little bit because of how vast it is. And
now you just got to keep growing.
Yeah, all the tie-ins and everything else. Yeah, I've got to keep going. I'll get to the end eventually. And when I do, my pull list is going to reduce massively because there's certain characters I'm only picking up purely for the War of the Realms tie-ins and things, you see.
How many like different comics, as in not runs, but you know, like different series are encompassed in this that you're collecting? In
War of the Realms, Journey into Mystery, the actual War of the Realms event books. There's Thor. I'm having to think now. My mind's gone blank. The Punisher has a book.
You just consume these as they're delivered to you from your
There's the Strike Force books, so there's different Strike Forces for different realms, and they're all like one-shots. No, actually, they're not one-shots. Oh, dude, it's just, yeah. I can't, like, without having a diagram or with the information in front of me, I wouldn't be, but I just know that I walk into the comic shop, and because I've asked for War of the Realms plus tie-ins, I get like a wodge of Marvel comics thicker than a phone book every Wednesday. That's all I know. So yeah.
Sounds absolutely brutal, but you do you, man. Someone has to.
Yeah. Someone's got to do it, exactly.
Well, literally everyone does, otherwise we'll lose comics.
Yeah, eventually I'll be able to talk about it, but yeah. I need to read it all and put everything in the right order and because I'm not even convinced I'm reading them in the correct order sometimes. So
is there not like a reading list, or is that stuff that traditionally happens when the event has been finished?
See, I think you can. I'm reading them chronologically as they come out, and I'm reading them, but I'm pretty sure there are certain comics that fit in a different. So I'm reading them chronologically as I get them, but I'm pretty sure there are certain comics that fit in different places along the timeline of the War of the Realms event. And I've not actually gone and searched a reading list out, but there will be an official reading list somewhere. And there are actually warning, like, I mean, in a couple of the comics, it's like, don't read this unless you've read this one first, kind of thing. Spoilers for this one ahead. So yeah, so it kind of signposts you a little bit, but it's not. And the good thing about comics events as well is they are kind of fluid. Like you especially where tie-ins are concerned, because it's like you've got like this main stump and then a load of branches coming off it. So the thing about tie-ins are as well, they're not mandatory, really. I mean, they are and they're not, but yeah. Like you could just probably pick up War of the Realms 1 to 6 and not worry about the tie-ins and still have a nice story to read, you know? But yeah, that's just how it works. And I wanted the tie-ins because I think this what they're doing right now is cool. I like this story. I like this whole massive war across several Asgardian realms. Not even, well, several realms, including Asgard, and like all encompassing. It's taking over the entire world. Basically, the world has been taken over and divvied up, and frost giants get America, and so on and so forth. And it's just really interesting, and a lot of different characters involved, and a lot of characters get to shine in an event like this as well, which is kind of cool, and I quite like it. Everyone gets their moment, which is pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, back to House of X and Powers of X. So these two new series are written by Jonathan Hickman, and we've got art by Youngun, Pepe Larraz, R.B. Silver, and Marta Gracia works on it as well as a colorist. And this is a really good creative team. Jonathan Hickman has had a really good Fantastic Four run previously, so I'm looking forward to this, definitely. Jonathan, I know Jonathan Hickman is a great writer. I've loved his previous stuff, so that's another big one for me. Another big indicator of the fact that I need to be buying this. Other than that, I mean, what have you been up to, Leon, since we spent 3.5 hours or whatever talking about a recent Marvel film?
What have I been up to? I definitely haven't been watching comic book movies because rewatching all of the MCU and seeing Endgame a few times, like wanted to have a bit of a detox. But like part of that detox has just been trying to like read a few different things. So I've been reading like I mentioned in the past, I was reading up on some Junji Ito works, and I've been reading a bunch of those, rereading some and reading ones I hadn't read before. And they're things that it would be nice to discuss with you guys on a bit more of a spoilery podcast, because there's a lot of I think you'd quite enjoy them. There's a lot of freaky meat on that bone to dig into.
Yeah, I would be into that. We could do like a special.
Yeah, we should. And then apart from that, like, where is the time gone? I haven't even been playing anything. I just put myself in like a cryogenic chamber every time when I get home from work. I just get into my my chamber and like get in there and recharge until I have to go to work the next day. Because I mean, do I need to say any more about Game of Thrones this season? Everybody and their mum has weighed in. Not really.
What's a Game of Thrones, Leon?
The Game of Thrones is what happens when basically the world at large are feeling the pain that we felt when you're watching an anime show and they like get ahead of the manga, so you get filler arcs, and then something sad happens, like with Rurouni Kenshin, where the show ends during filler, and you never get the last arc from the comic. So the world at large is starting to feel the effects of that and whining about it. And us lot are just like, yeah, you've been here, man. It's fine. Like, it's not going to end the world.
Yeah.
It's just not going to go the way that you want it to go. But apart from stuff like that and our deteriorating political structure, I've just been delving in and out of things. What I've done mostly, actually, is it's a lot of catch up and like completion, because a lot of things that I started or like got a couple of episodes into or a couple of issues into that I've been watching and like reading up on. But yeah, there's a few things that I'm looking forward to diving in with you and Rahul, because especially these newer Junji Ito stuff, they're really, really good.
Yeah,
Freaky as hell.
I need to get on that. I've been like diving in because Batman and the Outsiders has recently hit the shelves again, and I picked up the first one. It's rather good, I must say, and it's nice to be able to get back in with that team again with the Outside. I mean, it's a slightly different team, but it's nice to be able to get back in with the Outsiders again and everything else. I quite like the Batman and the Outsiders stuff. I've been reading classic Batman and the Outsiders again from my collected editions of it. And like that's been my thing, like reading these like classic Batman and the Outsiders comics because they're just gorgeous. I've been playing Castlevania. It's like me just revisiting stuff. I've been playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night again. Because I recently bought it on the PlayStation 4. It comes with Rondo of Blood, like packaged together. And I'm at the clock tower, and it's brutal. Is as brutal as I remember it, actually. But yeah. I love
how does
so much.
2019 Greg fare against when you were younger and you played it?
I think I'm doing better. I make better time. So like what once would have been 3.5 hours game time is now 2 because I already know which way to go and so forth. Like what I need to get to X. Like I know that I need to go to a certain part of the castle first to get something to be able to go to the like. And so on. Like I there's no jumping around, running around aimlessly. Well, less of it anyway, because I remember things. So, but yeah, I do. I mean, that is my favorite Castlevania game anyway, for sure. Also, I just wanted to say that I got given a gift by Fluff and Fury. Which is something that a friend of ours has set up, and he's like 3D print stuff. He makes things. He gave some stuff to our streamer friend Askew as well, Antaskew on Twitch. He's a video game streamer, and he got some free gifts off them as well. And he's had some things off them given away in competitions and such. And I've been given, basically I had this like old Mega Drive 2 that I had as a kid, and it stopped working and I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, so I just packed it away and left it in the attic for years and years and years. Spent years up there. Now eventually Joe, our friend Joe, was doing things with games consoles and things like that, so I just gave him this old, presumably knackered Mega Drive 2 and said, here, if I'm not going to do anything with it, at least it can be used for spares and repairs. You can do something good with it and it won't just sit taking up space in my mum's attic, right? So he took it and he's had it for a few years. He had it for a couple of years, and I don't know what happened to it. I don't know whether he'd already done it up and done something with it or what, but like he came around my house a couple of weeks ago and he gave me this box, and inside this box was my Mega Drive 2. But it wasn't just my Mega Drive 2, it was my Mega Drive 2 with Batman decals and Wayne Tech decals and painted grey, and he'd like made me he'd Batmaned up the pad as well. Like he just basically like pimped my Mega Drive 2. Like pimped my ride style, but with a games console. He heard I liked Batman, so he put Batman on my Batman. Yeah, and he gave me a copy of Batman Returns for the Mega Drive to go with it as well, which was kind of sweet. So yeah, he Batmaned up my Mega Drive 2, and it looks really, really cool. And there's pictures of it on Twitter already on the Ace Comicals feed, so you can check it out. But that is the Fury half of Fluff and Fury, which are a couple of friends of ours that make really cool stuff, so you should check them out as well. Lots of really awesome like 3D printed cosplay prop type stuff that they do and things like that, which is really cool. Yeah,
Yeah, most definitely. Their stuff that I've seen so far have been very cool. Very, very
mm,
cool.
yeah. I mean, they've modded consoles in the past. Like they did there was a guest we had, one of our guests, Marv, our friend Marv, when he has had a was it a Resident Evil Dreamcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, which was really cool. Um, and that basically wraps up my bit of news. So, Leon, I mean, have you got anything else you'd love to tell our lovely audience, or are we going to move straight into the comics now?
I've got many things to tell our lovely audience, but I don't think they want to hear them. So let's move on.
Yes. So, into the comics, and I'm gonna open this up with the latest issue of Ice Cream Man. Ice Cream Man number 12. Now, we talk a lot about Ice Cream Man on this show. We love this series. I particularly love this series. I love what it does. I love what it explores. The idea that just the idea of it, the eternal. How do I put this into words? The idea of eternal bad ideas. The idea of like these two forces, hope and hopelessness, like vying for control of the human race and people's lives, and yeah, just what the creative team are doing with this right now is amazing. Like this is the end of the current arc, which was Hopscotch Melange, and that'll be collected soon, so you're going to be able to get a trade of that soon. Ice Cream Man then returns in July, so we'll be back in July with another beginning of another arc called Palindromes, according to this, which sounds kind of interesting. And I don't know if that means there's going to be a comic that you can read from both directions, because that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but if that's what they're doing, then I'm going to be all over that, and we're probably going to end up talking about it on here. But because that's kind of special. But this one is like the end of this arc, and this arc has been all about how these two eternal entities hopping from universe to universe in a battle spanning billions of years have just basically vied for control of people. It is literally hope versus hopelessness is what I get from it, and through this lens we get an examination of the human condition and the ugly rot that hides within the mundane, and how like a bad feeling, or if you let a bad feeling or bad bad thoughts that drive bad behavior, it's just kind of like it can become malignant, and it can grow, and it can spread, and it can take over. And all it's like the Ice Cream Man is just giving that a little push. And that's his role, and he kind of feeds off that as well. Like he's this eternal being of corruption that seeks and orchestrates and feeds on fears and nightmares, and he amplifies the so-called bad music, as I say. So it's like these, they refer to it as bad music, in the comics. The thoughts or the feelings you may get that would drive you to certain behavior, or drive you to taking certain directions in life and such, with the themes of the previous comics. Now this one, this particular chapter takes place in space after the end of the world, and we begin on a type of space arc which carries kind of the last hope of humanity, digitized images, two of everything on Earth, alongside our history and achievements, also our mistakes and everything else, in the hope of setting up a new Earth, because Earth is done for, and this ship is supposed to be kind of carry us to somewhere else. And it's just the idea that even after the world is gone, the corruption remains, and in space you can still hear the bad music. And as always, the artwork is beautifully unsettling. Like almost everything after a certain point in the comic is in shades of dark grey, and it works perfectly. it's just a beautiful comic, and I love this the idea of them hopping from universe to universe as well. These two entities just taking with them just basically wreaking chaos and destruction is what the Ice Cream Man's doing through him pushing people towards bad choices and bad ideas into hopelessness and despair. And then there's this other being that appears to be trying to stop him or is following him, trying to hunt him, kind of like a bounty hunter type thing, which is kind of cool. Providing some balance, like I believe that being is like the hope side of things, but it's just it's just awesome, and there are some great panels. There's one where it is the Ice Cream Man being sat on a throne that has spider legs coming out of it, and there's like all maggots and stuff behind him, and the throne is made of like bones, and he's in some kind of like weird temple on a moon that
sounds very on brand.
yeah, it's just awesome. And it's like everything just, he's basically saying that this is just, everything just repeats itself, and it's just it's very on brand for Ice Cream Man. It's great. But I mean, this one and the previous one to this as well, number 11, which was about reality TV, which was really fun as well. I quite like that one. I want to be able to talk about all of these together, though. So this is something where I'm going to... I want to wait for you guys to catch up, and then we can talk about all of it together.
Yeah, we're going to have to have a good spoilery app about that.
Yeah, I think we should do an Ice Cream Man special as well. Definitely. Because
I've got a lot to catch up on with that, but all the things that you and Rahul have said have just like hyped it up for me.
Yeah, this is brilliant. I love it. And that is the cover's pretty awesome as well. The cover is just basically this arc floating between Earth and the moon. So that is Hopscotch Melange Part 4, and that's Ice Cream Man number 12, and that is written by W. Maxwell Prince, art by Martin Morazzo, colours by Chris O'Halloran, lettering by Good Old Neon. Cover A is Morazzo and Halloran, cover B is Tula Lote, and it is designed by Ashley Walker. And it's just... Yeah, it's... why have I got to wait till July? I know it's only a month, but...
July will be here in no time.
Damn it. Yeah, so that's Ice Cream Man number 12, and that one's worth picking up. And pick up the previous trades and read it, please, because it's probably one of the best comics out there right now, as far as, like, this kind of, like, existential horror stuff goes, you know? Because I think that... Can we call it that, existential horror? I think we can, can't we?
Sounds fair from what I've heard.
Yeah. Definitely. So yeah, that is Ice Cream Man. And Leon, you're up.
So, as you mentioned previously, what I decided to do has this app is, as well as doing some of my longer reads on some graphic novels and some bigger trades, wanted to dig into some of the things that I picked up on Free Comic Book Day a couple of weeks ago. And one of the good things with Free Comic Book Day, or one of the more interesting things, is that, as I've stated before, I've pretty much mostly moved over to digital when it comes to like newer comics now. But Free Comic Book Day always reminds me of what it's like holding single issues and reading, flipping pages back and forth, and like there is like a nostalgic feeling I get with it. that I wish there was a way to like have my cake and eat it. Because I love reading my comics on the iPad. And, like that is like the perfect balance for me in terms of how it feels, comfortability, and like how good it looks. But I do like the feel of a good comic book, and it's the same with like books as like novels type. There's certain books that I only ever get physical, and that's like non-fiction learning stuff, because I just find with physical stuff it's easy to flip back and forth between pages. And then like I've got quite a few like story novels which are physical as well, and I go back and forth between reading them like physical or digital. Like I do kind of miss that from comics, because like, I've got so many physical trades. Like trades I buy physical all day, but actual individual issues is a different thing.
I feel like if I had a better device for reading comics, because I've got a tablet and I can read comics digitally, but it's a very old tablet and it pisses me off trying to use it sometimes.
Yeah,
I feel like if I had a better device, I might read more digital comics. But as you know, I'm a man of the physical media. I like vinyl. I like solid books and comics. I like to surround myself with that stuff. I'm old-fashioned that way. I like having shelves with stuff on. Like, I like having my living room with bookshelves with books on the shelves.
Yeah.
Like, it feels cozy and it feels nice, and it's like
it's nice
to be
normal. Reminded of what you've got rather than having to check your like digital library.
Well, it's also the fact that I've, you know, like when I pay for something, like I still haven't gotten past I mean, I can do it with games now. Like, I've finally gotten past that hurdle, but I find it hard to pay for something when I'm not getting anything physical in return.
Also, a lot of these things, like say for instance, Comixology, have DRM on there. That's a thing that is not as fun, because at least with non-DRM stuff, when you buy it, you actually have the thing. Whereas like a lot of the services we use, Steam, Comixology, and all that, it is paying for like the license to use something, but they could take it away at any time.
Yeah, they can. And it's not your comics collection.
Yeah, and when it comes to that type of stuff, it's only pure convenience that I am comfortable buying things that way.
Yeah.
But like I say, if I want a collection, if I want the thing, then I end up buying the trade.
It's like
the trades.
Yeah, I mean, like this army of long boxes behind me, that's going nowhere. That's mine. No one can take that off me. You know, it's just like, and it's you know, it's something solid. And you know what, I guess I've just said if I had a better device, but I think even then, I think I prefer reading off a physical medium, because I don't know, I think it's, I find it strains my eyes sometimes. Looking,
because you've got the backlight shining in your eyes.
Looking at a tablet screen. Whereas, like, if I like to sit and read because it's time away from a device as well. Like,
it's good to get away from screens.
Yeah, get time away from blue light and everything else. Like, reading from a physical book or a physical comic is time away from a device for me, because I'll put my phone down in another room sometimes, and I'll just go and I'll be reading comics, and then I won't, like, probably go without my phone for like a couple of hours, or go without looking at a device screen for a couple of hours at least. You know, I don't have the TV on. I don't have, you know. So yeah. Yeah,
no, definitely, and it's one of those things where I don't think I can go back. I mean, I've never since only when I was a kid, but I never really been big on single issues, because I just don't have the space, and I don't like having like loads of floppies. Like, I'm the opposite of you in that sense, where I don't like. It's not going to be the way how I revisit things. I'd rather revisit stuff in a trade.
Well, I'm lucky in that I have a wonderfully understanding girlfriend. And the place we're currently renting, I have my own. Like I can have a hobby room, which is nice. I'm lucky in that regard. I mean, I think if I was living at home still, I wouldn't have the space for this. Like I wouldn't have the comic collection I've got now because I just have nowhere to put it. But yeah.
But yeah, all of this leads me to talk about Under the Moon, a Catwoman tale. So this is like the free comic book day sort of preview to the full fat graphic novel that was released earlier in the year. And it's written by Lauren Miracle. I'm going to pronounce it, even though there's a Y. I believe it's Miracle because it's too good not to be Miracle. And it's illustrated by Isaac Goodhart. And the story, from what's presented here in this snippet, which I don't know if it's right at the beginning of the book, it does feel like it, but I could see how they could be a bit more before. But spoilers of my enjoyment of the book, but I do want to check out the full book based on this little preview. But yeah, the preview covers sort of like a day or two in young Selina Kyle's life. And this is Selina Kyle, the Catwoman. Though at this point she's sort of the cat girl. And
so this is
during
her days as an orphan.
Well, no. Those orphan days are behind her because she lives with a person, a woman that she refers to as Mum,
mm-hmm.
who I assume is her adopted mother at this point in the story, and her mother's awful boyfriend called Darnell or something like that. I think so. Darnell. Darnell. And he's a douchebag. He looks like a douchebag. He looks like he drinks beer with breakfast, and he just looks like an awful person. So like it's that typical setup of the awful stepdad type thing. Anyway, during this course, this day, while going for a walk to get away from the house, she finds a little cat, and she, like a stray kitten, I should say, and that she refers to as Cinders, like your girl Cinderella. And she basically cares for this cat, and then we have a day at school where we sort of get the dynamic of what her life is like at school and how she relates to different kids. And then the thing that sort of made me think like, oh, this isn't just a traditional, this isn't just the lost years of Selina Kyle. This is its own, it's basically the Gotham YA, which is the point of this imprint, which I'll go into later. But because there is a Bruce Wayne who attends her high school, and they have a conversation, and it's about sort of falling out of touch. We get like some visions of what's happened with how Bruce dealt with like his parents dying, but you get the more social aspect of that, like cutting everybody out and sort of distancing himself from people. And they reconnect, and like it all feels good. And then enter stepdad, finding out that she's taken in a kitten, and you have quite a dramatic, horrible sequence of events that follows that. And it does feel like it's very early in the book, the full version of the book, because it feels quite like it feels like it's a formative
moment
and event for young Selina Kyle. And yeah, I quite enjoyed it. What we get here is quite short, but I think it's a good advertisement for what it'd be like to approach these characters and stories this way. So this is on the DC Inc. Like imprint, which is it appears to be. So I think DC launched 2 imprints. I think it was earlier this year. You had DC Zoom, which is comics that are more focused on, like, say, middle school kids, which for us would be like the earlier years of secondary school.
Yeah.
And then the other imprint is DC Inc. And DC Inc. seems to be getting like YA novelists, especially because all of them seem to be New York Times best-selling authors as well, and then pairing them with like artists who have quite their own like their own noticeable visual style, and then pairing them off in that way, and basically giving us YA comics, but using some of these big DC characters. So as well as this Under the Moon Catwoman one, there's a Mera book, which that came out earlier in the year. So that's Mera of Aquaman's fame. There's a Raven book coming out in the summer. So there's the Mirror books by author Danielle Page. I can't see the artist on this image because then it's making it small. There's a Raven book out in the summer, and there seems to be a Harlequin book and a Batman book out in the autumn. And it seems like quite a cool idea to go on to take these characters that we know and love, especially having quite a big female-centric focus on them, like picking like female characters, having female authors, and sort of getting in the heads of these characters. Because a lot of the time, these characters are just punching titans, and well, I mean, one is a teen titan, but like punching titans and like I don't know, all types of end of the world stuff. But to see a sort of like formative and social like relationships and how they sort of exist in the world is a very interesting way to cover these characters, because like a lot of YA stuff, like young adult fiction, can focus on dystopias, but like not all, but like quite a lot. A lot of the ones that are famous and been adapted into movies have been. All of these ones seem to be more set in the like teen years, like high school, but like formative events that lead these people along their different paths. From what it looks like,
yeah.
So yeah, it's a cool concept, and I'm looking forward to checking out the full version of Under the Moon, because I want to see like how it works, and if marrying the YA novelization style with comics, especially superhero comics, works well. It'll be cool to see if it does. One thing I'll say though, I hate the DC Inc. logo. It's so annoying. Like, just the letters are all like messed up. But with this actual book, the art style is really cool, because for color, it's basically blue, like shades of blue. So you've got like really, really like dark blue, and then the like dark navy, and then the rest of it is like a light blue. And that sort of colors the world. And doing it this way does make it feel different than if you're just reading the book. Like, it does feel like you're reading a YA book or like teen novelization, but like fleshed out visually, which is cool. Character designs, like the people who you know, so like Bruce and Selena, look different, but they're designed in a way where they're like normal teens, or at least teens that you'd recognize from like TV, like Riverdale or something like that. So it's quite cool, and it's quite like it feels set. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like it's set now. It feels like it's set in the 90s, and I think that's just the style of it, the style of clothing, the like what you see. I don't think anybody has a mobile phone or anything. So it does feel like it's set in the 90s. It has that sort of endless summertime feel to it, and I've watched like a lot of like American teen fiction stuff, so it does evoke like the 90s era versions of those. But it's quite cool, and the little techniques it does to like have us inside Selina's head as she goes through her day, and sort of the balance between what's evidently a crappy home life, but then her like outlook when she's out in public and with her friends, or friend I should say, friend Angie. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering where it goes, because if the event that happens here happens right at the beginning, I'm wondering where they go and how far they go, because it would be traumatic for anyone what happens. But yeah, I'd give that a recommendation. And like to follow up with the credits, the colorist was Jeremy Lawson, and the letterer was Darren Bennett, and that is Under the Moon, A Catwoman's Tale.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty cool. I've seen it advertised. I mean, I've got the free comic book day one from it as well, but I've not around to reading it yet. Like I said, keeping up with War of the Realms is a full-time job. But I've seen it advertised in the pages of other DC comics that I've been buying, and I've also seen the Mirror one advertised as well. So, yeah, they do. It looks like a cool concept, and it'd be something that I'd want to check out and see. Just see what they're doing with it, basically, because it does sound kind of cool. I'm gonna follow your lead and start talking about cats, because there's thing I stumbled across. Dark Horse are releasing a new comic, I believe in August. This is something where basically I just stumbled across an article on Sci-Fi Wire, and it's this new Dark Horse comic that's coming that looks pretty cool. It's kind of like up my alley a little bit. Basically, the basic premise is it's called Strayed, Strayed, and the basic premise is that this cat can astral project and is going to save humanity.
Okay.
And this cat gets all cosmic and trippy, and like a lot of space stuff involved. And yeah, I'm just down for this astral projecting cat saving the world. And the cover looks really cool. It
sounds wild.
Yeah, it just looks really fun. And it's something that I'm definitely going to be adding to my pull list and checking out. I mean, like, I can't imagine my two cats ever doing anything like that, because my two cats are dumb. But, like, really...
You never know. They could be astral projecting when you're out of the house.
I can imagine...
You don't know how many times they've saved the world.
True. I mean, whatever they're doing, like, I can imagine, like, that they're doing that, and it's basically burning out their tiny brains, and that's why they behave like they behave when I'm actually home. But I don't know.
Yeah, so like you're working, they're working.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, they're yeah. This just sounds like a really cool comic, and we've got like this really like this cover that I've seen is like really kind of like colourful and trippy. Lots of use of light and like you know, like when something looks like it's vibrating and it's got like an edge around it, things like that, and like when You know when you want to like 3D images where they've got like several lines around them in different colors and that kind of. There's kind of that like going on for it a little bit with the artwork with the cover, and it's kind of nice. And I like the design of the cat, the design of the star of the show. This cat is called Lou, Lou. This cat saves the world by going to by astral projecting into outer space, apparently. So I'm interested to see how that works. I'm quite into the idea of this. Yeah, and that is Strayed, and that's Dark Horse Comics. And the creative team behind that, we've got Justin Juan Doe, Matt Kreutzer, and yeah, those are the two named at the moment. Yeah, Juan Doe and Matt Kreutzer. Oh, Carlos Giffoni as well. Carlos Giffoni's the writer. Juan Doe is the artist, and Matt Kreutzer appears to be the letterist. So I'm in for this. I'm all over this. Sign me up. Astral projecting cats. I just wanted to mention as well that Murder Falcon has ended, and what an ending that was. So that's issue 8 of Murder Falcon. And that will be collected into a trade sometime soon, so watch out for that, because it is a great story and I recommend it to anyone. It was a fantastic finale. It went out wailing and screaming over a cacophony of guitars, and I have loved this tale from start to finish. And yeah, again, this is just a quick mention to remind you all that the trade's coming and you should be thinking about picking it up. It's a great tale about the healing power of music and the strength that we can all draw from it to face and drive off our demons. And it's also about how important music is in our lives and how we rely on it sometimes to get us through the day. And it's also a story about having the strength to face your fears and go down fighting and never give up. And it's all kinds of awesome, and it's all kinds of metal, and it's up there, definitely. You should be checking that out. That is the creative team for that. I'll just read that out very quickly. Daniel Warren Johnson is the creator, artist, and writer. We have colours by Mike Spicer. Russ Wooten is the letterer. And yeah, it's just a monster, a leviathan of a comic. Leon, back to you for your next one off your list.
Yes. So I picked up. I'm trying to remember how many. Maybe 10. Maybe 10 or so books on Free Comic Book Day. I'm trying to not do the grab bag thing of just grabbing 5, even though, because this Free Comic Book Day on the list, there was not too many things that like jumped out at me and been like, oh, I need to get my hands on that type of thing. So I wanted to just go for things that looked interesting that I'd not seen or heard before. So one of the ones that fit that bill was Interceptor, which is, I believe, is a 2015 comic that was on Heavy Metal, and now the Free Comic Book Day version, which and the main version, I believe, have been re-released by Vault Comics. So this is a story by Donny Cates on writing, Dylan Burnett illustrating, Taylor Esposito lettering, Seamus Martin story editing, and it's an odd story, but it can be summed up as it's like mega forward in the future. Humanity left Earth. We destroyed the planet, had to go. See you later, Earth. And now humanity, the home planet of humanity, is a planet called Palus, Palus, and we pick up 3 hours and 15 minutes into the first term of President Dominic O'Connor. And he's in his office with his chief of staff, his deputy chief of staff, and his communications director. And they're having a chat with him, and I realise that he has no idea about a certain section of history, and a particular ritual. So they recount the story of basically the real reason humanity fled Earth. And it's super early in the book. It's like 3 pages or something. So I'm not going to fully spoil it. But basically, vampires.
Okay,
and there's a really good panel with this because the chief of staff is too chicken to go into it. He just can't get his words out, and the communications director is just just tell him already. Go on, just tell him. And then you have a great 2 panels where she's like, "Now, fair warning, sir. This is massively abridged. But if we're going to move ahead with this, there's a lot of information you'll need to know. So, yeah, vampires." And then we proceed to get a sort of flashback exposition, but it's really good because before then, all the comic book panels are sort of standard, white gutters, some are black bordered, but then the panel where she says vampires isn't black bordered, and then the following pages isn't white bordered, and the following pages are black bordered.
Yeah,
and it has a really good effect visually because you get what's the technical word for this, Greg? Actually, where it's a page where it's a splash page, but instead of being one image, it's like the comic panel structure is just running over the 2 pages as if it was one page.
Double page spread.
Is it just double page spread?
That's what I would call it from what you've described, yeah. Where it's just one image across 2 pages, like a double page spread, yeah.
Because usually I would have thought, no, it's not one image, it's like the whole, it's like, I don't know, 18 panels going across
where it's
2
like
pages.
So it's a double page spread, but it's split into individual panels. There might be a technical term for it, but I don't have it right now.
I was wondering if you knew. But yeah, basically it's one of them. And it's really cool because we get to see what actually led, what steps humanity took as they left, and it's all kind of sort of dark history type thing of where these things came from and what humanity's actions did to unleash them and why we just had to get the hell out of it.
Yeah.
So we get all that, and then the story basically goes from there. They're updating the president, telling him okay, apparently the vampires that we left on Earth, they have developed stuff, and they know where we are now. And when I say they've developed stuff, I'm talking space travel and stuff. They're really advanced in the time that humanity left. So now they're warning the president, and they know where we are. So we're kind of screwed in that way. So this is where we hear about an agent who's been sent to Earth on the first term of the previous president, who served 2 terms, so ages ago, and her name is Polly Lahan, and she is a sergeant who has basically been trained in low light and every type of martial arts and armed combat, and been surgically modified with various anti-vampire technology, and has been given a power suit that is referred to as, it's basically a battleship stuffed into a suit of armor, sir. So they've sent this they basically sent the Master Chief back to sort of see what's going on, maybe rough up some vampires and stop them stop them causing trouble when they get back. And as part of this, when we pick up with our super agent Polly Lahan, we're shown Earth, and it looks super desolate, and you've got these like little vampire-like creatures. But there is another character, a girl called Weep, who's on a cool-looking motorcycle, which is on the cover of this. And she has like cool goggles as well. I'm always a fan of cool goggles. And she's like, "Oh, you need to stop this because Polly's re-entry is this like massive monolith structure with like spider legs and like a big laser coming out of the top, and it's wiping out all the little vampire things." But then what we end up getting is that Weep's like, "You need to stop that. You're going to draw attention." And Polly's like, "So what? Like, I'm decimating these things." And it's like, those aren't vampires. We call these ticks. Like, this is what vampires are. And then the last couple of panels we see, and it's like basically army soldier types with jets and stuff. And it's like, oh crap, yeah, the vampires have evolved. So it's a good setup for the first issue because it sets up this universe with this whole like sins of the past thing, because evidently they've left people behind if you've got people like Weep there. But then it's also a case of like there's so much history now that like gaps that have to be filled in about what happened after humanity left. But also now we've got these super advanced vampires. Like what's the plans for the future? And it has, I can see why it would be on like heavy metal before, because it does have this cyberpunky, dirty grit vibe, where like I could see some of these images and vehicles in like 2000 AD or something.
Yeah.
But with that said, there's a lot of colour, and like I mentioned before, the back and forth between the use of black gutters and white gutters is pretty cool storytelling device. And the way it guides your eyes from panel to panel is quite inventive, and I know it makes it a bit more immersive, and the lettering as well is implemented in a cool way where it feels like it's in the background, but because a lot of it is like white, basically the gutters are like pouring into the image, because the letters cross the image and go in from the gutters and out from the gutters. So it's quite cool because it has this. It almost gives it like not 3D, but it gives it this sort of like dimensional effect, which is quite cool because it doesn't take you out of the book, and they do cool things with like having, for instance, vampires when they speak, their speech bubbles are black with white writing. When other characters speak, it's like so when Polly speaks, it's blue writing. Sorry, a blue bubble with black writing, and when Weep speaks, it's like your standard white background with white bubbles with black writing in it. So it's really cool. Like there's a lot of like really cool stylistic touches in this, and just the use of things like lens flares and stuff. I know it's a 2015 comic, so you've got a lot of stuff that does this now, and was doing this before. But like the way all these different tools come together, it's quite good. And you just have like this like flavor here. You got really like odd stuff. So like the president himself looks like a kid, and but he's meant to be 65 or something like that. So there's a lot of weird and like fun stuff going on, and it does feel on. I don't know where it goes, But just based on it being Donny Cates and its look, I would say it's a Greg book.
Yes. And, well, you had me at Donny Cates, like I said. But Donny Cates and Dylan Burnett obviously went on to, after that, to create one of the better comics from last summer. One of the best comics from last summer, in fact, which was Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
So that was those two. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, this is what they were doing before, so
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
want to check it out.
I will. I will have to look into that and check that out because that sounds amazing. But yeah, what you were mentioning there, like lettering touches and things like that with different coloured speech bubbles and that sort of stuff. That kind of stuff's really cool. And does it change the way you hear the voice in your head? Like
It
I'm
does.
assuming, yeah. I'm assuming the blue bubble is like to give it kind of a cold feel, so that when, like, because when I ever read anything in a blue bubble, it's usually coming from something mechanical or robotic.
Yeah, and like her character Polly, she's the one who's been like,
Enhanced.
she's the best soldier ever, and she's enhanced, and she's like surgically enhanced and blah blah. So it's like it does make sense.
Yeah.
Like there's a cool visual language to it, which I really like.
Yeah, I mean that is one of the magical things about lettering, when just by changing the colour of the speech bubble, you can make the voice sound differently in the reader's head, which I quite like that. Like when you want something to, like Thanos' speech bubbles, for example, are black with white writing, and they have kind of like a wavy edge.
Yeah.
Which for me gives him this like really deep, gravelly voice.
Yeah, it feels like it's booming.
Yeah, this gravelly, booming voice. Like, the wavy edge just makes it, like, he sounds rough when he speaks, right? Of course he does. But yeah, no, I love that. Like, when I see that, and, like, when I think about the way Thanos might speak, because I see how they do Thanos' speech bubbles, I think Thanos might have what I call a crypt voice. Like, very kind of, like, deep and, like a crypt keeper type kind of vibe going on, like almost like he has kind of like the cadence of a funeral director when he's speaking, kind of thing. It's like that's how I imagine it, like very deliberate and very, but yeah, definitely. So moving on from there, I had picked up Savage Avengers #1. Now this actually has its roots in Free Comic Book Day as well, because they published a preview of the Savage Avengers in the Avengers Free Comic Book Day offering. But I went ahead and picked up #1, and it actually released before Free Comic Book Day, and yeah, it was really, really cool. So this is like a bit of fun for me, and it's coming out of the Avengers No Road Home event, and some of the meanest, toughest Marvel anti-heroes assemble to stop the Hand, which are the spooky ninja death cult types that you'll know from the Daredevil comics. And also the recent Daredevil series. The Hand are like these, they're like a mystical ninja sect, and the gist is they can kill someone and then revive them as a servant of the Hand. The Hand being a cult that serves a specific demon. Now, like a ninja cult that serve a demon, basically. It's all very supernatural and very cool, and yeah, if you want to know more about that, then I would say read some Daredevil comics, because that's where the Hand kind of have their roots. I think they're a Frank Miller creation, actually. I think
they are,
Daredevil. Yeah. So this team consists of, now get ready to hear this, Leon. So we've got Wolverine, Elektra, Venom, The Punisher, and Brother Voodoo.
Yeah, that is savage.
Yeah, those guys are not playing games. And then, like, from there, you just add Conan the Barbarian to extrapolate it however many more times.
What the hell is this book?
I know, right? So, Conan the Barbarian is in the Savage Lands, hunting an amulet. And Conan crossed over into the Marvel Universe as part of Avengers No Road Home. And this kind of spins out of that. So, Conan's now part of the main Marvel Universe. He lives in the Savage Lands. Or he's in the Savage Lands and he's hunting an amulet. And there's some evil sorcerers from Conan's world that seem to be there as well. And they've found common ground with the Hand. And this is where the lines begin to blur. So they're kind of like sharing magical practices and things like that. And there's some ritual sacrifice going on and filling something with blood to summon something. And in the first issue, Wolverine and Conan cross paths, and it's fucking beautiful.
I can imagine.
Like, there's some like really gorgeous work here in this comic, and like one of my favourite sequences is when Wolverine and Conan cross paths, and there's this page of 6 vertical panels detailing the events of a fall from a cliff edge, because they're fighting and then they go over the edge of a cliff. And they fall down this cliff edge, and we have this kind of like distant view in like some of these 6 panels. One of the panels is Wolverine like getting his claws out and digging them in to try and slow his fall, like digging them into the side of the cliff. But like we get the this image of them falling as silhouettes against a sunset. Like, you can just imagine the silence, and like you just, because it's the Savage Lands, it's like there's just not a lot of stuff there. It's like nature and stuff. So you just imagine the silence as you're just watching distantly these 2 silhouettes fall off the edge of a cliff, just still like taking chunks out of each other, and then going through the roof of a tavern.
There's a tavern?
Yeah. I think some of Conan's world got pulled into the Marvel Universe, but you go through the roof of a tavern, there's no one in there, it's empty. And they come crashing through this roof, and they're both like out on the floor. And then, like, Conan gets up. This is when they decide to call it a day, basically. Conan gets up first, before Wolverine does, and he picks up a barrel and then drinks straight from the barrel and then pours some into Wolverine's face while he's lying on the floor. And then Wolverine gets up and wipes his mouth and says, "Thanks, Popeye needs his spinach." Right?
So this is what we're dealing with. This is the type of book.
Yeah. Maximum Greg. So then those 2 are friends now. And Wolverine's in the yellow and brown, which I like. I like Wolverine's yellow and brown outfit. I think that's his best colours. The blue and yellow is cool and all, but I'm a fan of the yellow and brown. I don't know about you.
I think that one.
Well, the orange and brown, isn't it? It's not yellow and brown. It's orange and brown. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I like the blue.
Yeah.
I
like
do
the
like
yellow
the
and
blue.
blue. I mean, the yellow and blue's classic. Yellow, blue, and black. That's like classic Wolverine. But I don't know. I think the brown and orange. I think that's like less garish.
Yeah. It does look cool,
Yeah.
because the brown is sort of like a t-shirt kind of thing. It's like it goes over his shoulders.
Yeah.
It is a cool look.
It's just less garish, and I think I like it better for that. But yeah, that's just me. So yeah, that is as much as I'm going to say about the events of the comic and what happens, and like, you know, the way the comic is artistically and mechanically as well. Like the artwork, some of the artwork in it is absolutely gorgeous. We've got like some kind of semi-borderless panels with other panels in set, and like there's this Conan like turning round, and then you've got like a flash, like light coming from the edge of the page, like he's turning round into the sun. Like that's the direction the light's coming from, and it just looks beautiful. And then that next page is him and Wolverine face to face. So like, they basically it's Conan battering a load of hand ninjas, and then that's how he meets Wolverine, because Wolverine is also battering hand ninjas. And Conan, as Conan's battering hand ninjas in a frenzy, he puts his sword in Wolverine's head, and Wolverine's just like standing there with this sword in his head, and Conan's like, "How the fuck is this guy still alive?" kind of thing. Yeah, and that's how it all starts basically. But yeah, it's good fun, and I am really looking forward to issue 2 to see where they take this, because they've just like, the way they involve the Punisher as well is just like, for want of a better word, savage. So I'm looking forward to it.
Because I was wondering how he fit into this as well.
Yeah, I think these without. I mean, I don't want to go, because if I keep going, I'll spoil it. But he's these the Hand and these sorcerers from Conan's world they need Earth's mighty. They need sacrifices from mighty warriors. They need like strong blood from the best artists, the best warriors, the best singers. So they're going around the world collecting like the greatest and then murdering them and taking their blood. And I think they want Frank Castle because he's one of the hardest people in the Marvel universe. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, one of the hardest people on Earth or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of how it works anyway, and that's why these lot have ended up in a team together because they're all solid. To want a better word,
every sense of the word.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that is Savage Avengers, and the creative team behind this is let me just find the credits, flick through the comic pages. We have Jerry Duggan on writing duties. The artist is Mike Deodato Jr. Colour artist Frank Martin. Letterer is VC's Travis Lanham. We've got a cover by David Finch and Frank Diamata, and there's like a bunch of variant covers. We've got Simone Bianchi and Simone Peruzzi, Mike Deodato and Frank Martin, Mobius, Scotty Young, Lionel Francis Yu, and Romulo Ferrado Jr. So, yeah, you've got like a bunch of variant covers for it. The cover I've got is kind of like the main one, which is basically the characters standing Avengers poster style with Wolverine front and center. So like an Avengers movie poster where they're kind of like standing in a tower, like set back from each other. Venom's at the top. Then you've got Brother Voodoo and Conan back to back. Then you've got the Punisher dead center with Elektra to his left, and then dead center right in front is Wolverine with his arms crossed and his claws out, classic Wolverine pose. So yeah, looking good. And that is Savage Avengers. So I'd like you to read that actually, just see what you make of it, because it's, or Marv even. I think Marv would enjoy that one. If you're listening, Marv, you'll have to come back on the show and talk about that with me. It sounds like something you'd enjoy. I think that wraps us up for comics, doesn't it? Yeah. We haven't got anything left on the list to talk about. So that's it. Yeah, that is all the comics we had to talk about today. So I guess now we can move on to the pull list. So actually, no, just before we do the pull list, we have a question, don't we? So Marv, who friend of ours, one of our guests, has sent us a question. And his question is, I was thinking about comic book moments or panels that have always stuck with me. For instance, Bane breaking the bat in Nightfall, or in the What If Dark Phoenix Killed the X-Men comic, where Phoenix throws Wolverine back at Colossus after a fastball special, making Wolverine kill his own friend. So my question is, what comic panels left you so shocked that they're burned into your memory forever? And he said in brackets as well, a more recent for him was the last two big story beats in The Boys, but he's not going to spoil that. Or, yeah. I mean, so the Batman one that he describes first of all, the Bane one, is iconic, and that's one that I'd actually put on my list, because I mean, it's not even a panel, it's a full page, and it's a full page of Bane, you know, shoving the bat over his knee and snapping the guy in two from the Nightfall comics, and it's in bright orange. It's just in your face. It's a beautiful piece of art.
It is,
and it's it is striking, and it does stick with you. It's one of those moments that's like, it's an iconic moment as well, isn't it? So this got me thinking as well. It's not just about how striking the panel and the artwork is, but it's also about how iconic the moment is as well. Like an iconic moment that shakes you to your core in a comic, or shakes the foundations of what they've been building in that comic and the story they've been telling. Leon, do you want to go first and give us anything that you've been thinking about regarding that, or?
Well, yeah, it's like following on from what you're saying. So the way I perceived the question was to be like, he's shocked to your core. So there's a lot of iconic panels, like whether they be the super famous ones from superhero comics or whether they be a little bit more obscure, or they're stuff like panels that just like they're a work of art type thing, where it's like they encompass the moment perfectly. There's like a bunch of those, whether it be in indie books as well. But like reading it off the face of being shocked, I wanted to narrow down my selection a bit more. But a lot of those style ones come very late into like long runs, like 60-issue runs. So like the aforementioned the boys one that he mentions, I know exactly what he's talking about. He doesn't have to say it. But like, if I was to give one for this, I'm going to spoil Walking Dead issue 48.
Okay.
So like, when I read The Walking Dead many, many years ago, I think it was around the time, it was probably a year before the show started, and then into the first season of the show is when I was reading it. So I believe I got to issue 100, but I can't remember.
Right.
So instead of spoiling something right at the end, I'm going to spoil something that happened relatively in the comics ages ago, especially because in the TV show, characters involved with this died ages ago, and it seems like the TV show is the pop culture thing for Walking Dead, to justify myself. But I'll still give a spoiler warning, because I do hate to spoil plot points. So skip forward 2 minutes, maybe.
Yep.
If you don't want to hear. But like a spoiler for issue 48. What happens? It's towards the end of the governor storyline in the comic. So the Walking Deaders, I'll call them, have had issues with this character called the Governor, who sort of is the king of his own town. And they've run afoul of him because he's insane, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, they're at the prison. So and the governor is awful. He's way worse in the comic than he was in the TV show. Like, he's absolutely brutal, vicious, horrible, horrible person. And like, so all that stuff is kicked off from what I remember correctly. And they're at the prison, and they've sent like crap loads of soldiers who are just like laying waste to the Walking Dead. It's just like a flurry of bullets and everything. And for those who remember, the main character is Rick Grimes, and like him, his wife Laurie, his son Carl, and his daughter Judith are trying to like escape with the others. So there's like Herschel, Billy, Trisha, and a few other characters. And it's awful sequence. The reason why this one sticks in mind, because I don't really have that much love for Walking Dead. I enjoyed what I was reading in the comics, but I didn't think that it was when people always say like, "Oh, you like the show? You should read the comic. It's way better." I don't think it was way better. I think it was just a different avenue, different way to tell that story, because there's stuff in the show that I think was way better than the comic, and stuff in the comic that I thought was way better than the show. But ultimately, my favorite bit of Walking Dead is the game, season 1 of the Telltale game. But despite not having that mega affinity for it, the panel is so brutal, because what it is, it's a splash page of bullets flying at them, and then the splash page is Laurie, who's holding Judith, who's a baby, and she's running, and it's a big splash page of just like a bullet blast shredding her in half, basically. And like, it's so literally visceral, and it's so shocking and violent, that like her midsection is basically just exploded, and then she just falls to the ground, basically crushing her baby. And like, Rick has to be like, "Don't look back, Carl. Keep running." But that particular splash of Laurie getting blasted, that's been burnt into my brain. Like, I'll never forget that image, because at the time, for me, it was so... I just didn't expect, like, a main character to die, especially with a baby. It was so... I mean, you could call it, like, shock for shock's sake, and there's stuff that happens earlier on as part of this storyline that they didn't include. I mean, this isn't included in the show, but that they didn't include in the show this because it was like... It felt like shock value type thing of like shock for shock's sake. But whatever the motivations between this scene, this panel, it was absolutely brutal and is like etched to my brain forever.
Yeah, that does actually sound pretty brutal. But like, I think, you know what, I've actually there's a correlation between violence as well and iconic panels. I mean, a couple of mine are rooted in brutal violence, but so the one that Marv mentions is the iconic full page of Bane breaking Batman's back, which is from Batman Volume 1497, which is part of the Nightfall storyline, and I think it's like chapter 11 in the Nightfall. It's like part 11, Nightfall storyline. Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah, and it's brutal. It is brutal, and it's like
it's a great image.
Yeah, it's a great image, but it's just so brutal. And when you read that, and you're like, "Damn, Batman's back's broken. What's he gonna do?" You know, it's just because like a spinal injury is. We all know what a spinal injury is like. That's it. You know, so. Yeah, that's why that one's so shocking. Another one for me was from Batman 428, which was part of A Death in the Family. And this is a full-page splash of Batman holding Jason Todd's limp and lifeless body, basically.
Yeah.
And that, when you read that sticks in your mind, because it's not just, you know, a death. It's Batman losing his son. You know what I mean? Like, because this is how Batman and the relationship between Batman and Robin. Batman's kind of almost like he's kind of like a surrogate father at times, isn't he? And he's a teacher, and you know, and he everything else. And this, you know, this kid is his friend. He's a soldier that's fought alongside Batman. He's Batman's partner. He's you know, lived with Batman, and Batman's just lost this kid, and he's, you know, it's Batman feels responsible for that. Batman feels responsible for the death of Jason Todd, and he's standing there with, you know, Jason Todd just in his arms. And
it is an awful image, because isn't everything like there's a wreckage? He's standing in the middle of wreckage as well.
Yeah.
And like Jason's like missing like one of his shoes.
Yeah,
like it's an awful image.
It's an awful image. I mean, even other images in this storyline, going back to the point where the Joker is hammering Jason with the crowbar.
Well, that's a series of images.
Yeah, you've got that series of images with the crowbar just going up and coming down, and like. You see Jason beaten black and blue after that, and it's horrible. So I'm gonna put, like, I mean, there's probably several different panels included in the death of Jason Todd that go on my list. So yeah, that's definitely, because that hit me when I saw that hit me, because I felt for Batman, and I felt sorry for Jason, and I don't want that to, you know, no one wants that to happen. It's just horrible. The way he went as well, like what they did to him. But yeah. But he's back now anyway, and he's wearing a red helmet and gunning people down, so it's okay.
Happy ending.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. We've got the red hood now, so that's all okay. Other ones on my list, from TMNT number 50, there is the panel where Splinter beheads Shredder. And it is after ritual combat to decide leadership of the Foot Clan. and Splinter defeats Shredder, and then Splinter must kill Shredder, and Splinter, like, kind of like Shredder's on his knees, and it's like a ceremonial beheading, basically, with a katana, Japanese sword, and the panel where Splinter beheads Shredder, and it's just such a striking panel. It's washed in red. The artwork is beautiful. The artwork is the same artist that works on Shredder in Hell, that's Santa Luoco, and it's just it's gorgeous, but it's also so brutal. And I think it's just seeing a character as gentle and as, you know, as passive as Splinter can be, actually getting his hands dirty like that, because I think that is what hammers that home, seeing Splinter do that. Like, a character like Splinter, who is this gentle, passive father figure, who, he's a teacher, and I mean, yes, he teaches martial arts and everything else, but it's almost as if he, you always feel like Splinter would say that if there is another way, take the other way, you know, like violence isn't always the way. That's how you feel when, that's the kind of image you get of Splinter. That's what you get from Splinter. But Splinter's got claws. Damn. Yeah. That panel where Splinter takes Shredder's head is, in the IDW, TMNT run. That's issue 50. And it is a doozy. And that is a spoiler, by the way, so... But yeah, that's a great one for me. And then, like, there's things that stick in my head because they're just so striking, like in Pax Americana, which is part of DC's Multiversity. There's a point in Pax Americana, there's just some beautiful page layouts that just stick in my head, like there's like a double page spread where they do this whole Gemini thing, and they're mentioning Gemini in the like, without spoiling it too much, they're mentioning Gemini as in Gemini, the Two-Faced God. They're mentioning they're talking about the idea of Gemini and Two Faces and things within the panels I'm talking about, within the pages I'm talking about, and they've also got this whole like reflective Gemini thing going on in the panel layouts and stuff, and it's so cool. And it's just things like that where the panel layouts are just so inventive and so cool. I mean, we could all talk about Pax Americana forever because that's got some really amazing panel layouts in it, and we know it has. And we know there's some really awesome stuff.
Some of that's like 4x4, isn't it? Which
is
immense.
It's like 16 panel pages, and it's just like, but it's just such a gorgeous comic, like on its own. Even if you don't read the rest of Multiversity, just read that bit, you know, just for its Watchmen pedigree kind of thing, because it is just a nod to Watchmen anyway. But it's there's just some really good panel layouts in there, and it's great. But yeah, those are the ones that like immediately come to me and stick in my head. I mean, like, there's so many as well, because obviously, you know, I read an awful lot of comics, and I just once a week maybe something just pops out and hits me in the face. Like, I mean, I'll just, like, even for a really recent example, in Murder Falcon number 8, there's a great sort of like, I guess it's like, could you call it 4/5 of the page in a panel? And it's a hammer striking an anvil, a giant hammer striking a giant anvil and destroying a demonic force. And like, that goes over a couple of panels. This hammer, like, just coming down encased in lightning from space. I don't fucking know. But it just, oh my god, yeah, it's beautiful. And this hammer just crushes him, and you've got this big boom, like, onomatopoeia in the background, and there's just like explosions going off, and the earth is shattered, and this giant anvil and this huge hammer, and it's just, yeah, metal. But yeah, there's that as well. So I mean, yeah, I am basically awash with these moments, but those are the few ones that I've chosen to mention in answer to your question, Marv. So I hope that has been satisfactory, because I believe actually it's probably 50% artwork and 50% iconic moment in comics anyway. So like what's actually happening, like an iconic moment in that story, or a big pivotal moment, a big pivotal beat that changes or shapes something, shakes the status quo from that point forward, I guess. For me, anyway. And that wraps us up. Onto the pull list. So I'm just going to run through this pretty quick. For the 22nd of the 5th, which is when this episode will be available, we have the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls #1, which is a one-shot which comes out of the pages of Drawing Blood Spilled Ink #1, which is... These are like the new Kevin Eastman things that have been on the cards for a while, and one of them is like semi-autobiographical, true story, but not a true story, about working in the comics industry, and it's about this writer who comes up with the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, which is basically just the TMNT, but not. And it just... Yeah, it's like it's like his story, like struggling to... The official blurb is Kevin Eastman returns to independent comics with a new creation, an inside look at the turbulent life and times of a once successful cartoonist on the skids. Shane Books Bookman. Once upon a time, Books co-created the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, a gritty, funny indie comic that became a billion-dollar global franchise. Now, years later, the partnership dissolved, the corporate buyout all spent. Books is struggling to recover from the hit and run driver called Early Success. So it's kind of semi-autobiographical, kind of like the true, not true story kind of thing. And he's looking for the will and the joy to create something new again. And it's Kevin Eastman and David Avallone. So Kevin Eastman, Ben Bishop, and Troy Little have worked on this. And it sounds kind of cool. As far as things like that go. We've also got the, as I mentioned, the Radically Rearranged Ronin Ragdolls, which is kind of going to be like a parody, meta-parody, self-parody within a parody thing that is going to be basically the TMNT but cats.
Okay.
Almost. Yeah, which sounds kind of cool, and I'm down with that. So from the pages of Drawing Blood and the mind of Kevin Eastman comes a story inside the story, the indie comic about 3 crime-fighting mutant cats, which launched the Ragdoll franchise in 1992 and kicked off Ragdoll's mania. See where it all began in this thrilling one-shot from co-creators Kevin Eastman and David Avallone. So again, yeah, this is the... Yeah, it is what it is. It's the TMNT, but not. And it looks kind of cool. It looks like something that I want to check out. So, yeah. There's also the last one on the 22nd that I picked out was something called Road of Bones. And that is on IDW. And the blurb for this one goes, in 1953, the Siberian gulag of Kolyma is hell on earth, which is why Roman Morozov leaps at the chance to escape it. But even if they make it out, Roman and his fellow escapees still have hundreds of miles of frozen tundra between them and freedom. With the help of a mysterious being straight out of his childhood fairy tale stories, Roman just might make it, or is the being simply a manifestation of his brutal circumstances driving him insane? And this is from writer Rich Douek of Gutter Magic and artist Alex Cormack of Sync. Road of Bones will carve a path of unrelenting dread right into your heart. Horror, history, and Russian folklore collide in this brutal survival tale, where the worst prison in the world is merely the gateway to even darker horrors. So, what do you make of that, Leon?
It sounds interesting.
Some Soviet-era horror. I'm all in for the Russian folklore, so yeah, I'm down with that. And that's Rich Douek and Alex Cormack, so I'm probably going to be checking that out for the next show. 29th of the 5th, we've got Batman, The Last Night on Earth, and Stranger Things 6. Stranger Things, I just picked that out because that's like, that just sounds interesting. So, A teenage girl with precognitive abilities has struggled through a lifetime of exploitation only to end up at the pawn of a government agency that wants to harness her power to its own ends. You've seen the show Stranger Things, but this is your first glimpse of the strangeness that happened before the series began, so it's a prequel. And this is about number 6. So we've got 11 in the Stranger Things show. This is about 6. And this is Stranger Things 6, number 1. And that is Jodie Hauser, Triona Farrell, Edgar Salazar, Keith Champagne, and we've got a bunch of covers by Oleski Bricot, Patrick Scatterfield, David Mack, and Lyle Lambert. The other thing was Batman Last Night on Earth, which is another thing on the DC Black Label imprint. So this is like the next DC Black Label thing. Bruce Wayne wakes up in Arkham Asylum, young and sane, and he was never Batman. So begins this sprawling tale of the Dark Knight as he embarks on a quest through a devastated DC landscape, featuring a massive cast of familiar faces from the DC universe as he tries to piece together the mystery of his past. He must unravel the cause of this terrible future and track down the unspeakable force that destroyed the world as he knew it. From the powerhouse creative team of writer Scott Snyder and artist Greg Capullo, the team that reinvented Batman from the emotional depths of Court of Owls to the bombastic power of Dark Knight's Metal DC, Black Label is proud to present the bi-monthly 3-issue miniseries Batman Last Night on Earth, published at DC's standard comic trim size. And that's because the Batman Damned one was like magazine sized and it was a bit crazy. So I think they're like, these ones are like regular comics. You'll be able to fit them in bags and boards. Please buy it. but yeah, no, it's going to be cool. Yeah. I've been looking forward to this because it's Snyder and Capullo, and they like it mentions in the blurb there, it's the New 52 team, and Batman New 52 run is a smasher of a run if you want to read some Batman. So I'm down for this. And that's my pull list. Leon, you got anything? Anything that you're going to be reading that you want to sort of lampshade or bring up?
Nah, I've spoken about what I want to talk about on future episodes.
Yeah, so
we're ready to go.
Yeah, we know where we're going already. We've got the future charted out for us right there. We know by the next show, Greg's going to be talking about Batman Last Night on Earth and Road of Bones, possibly. And yeah, so that has been Ace Comicals episode number 62. You can find us on Facebook under Ace Comicals. You can find us on Twitter at Ace Comicals. You can find us at www.acecomicals.com, which is the hub for everything. On there, we have links to all the places you can listen to us. We've got Apple Podcasts, Castro, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. You can find us on Instagram under Ace Comicals. We're pretty much everywhere, really. If you want to send us a question, you can email it over to acecomicals@gmail.com, or you can get in touch via Twitter, just at us or DM us, and we will endeavour to answer your question on the show, as we have here for Marv today. You can find me on Twitter under @Batto, that's BATTOU. So at us, tweet us, get involved. Please get involved in the conversation. Leon, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Leon Everett.
And there we go. So that has been Ace Comicals. So Ace Comicals, over and out.